Grace Randolph, Beyond the Trailer.
Hello.
It's so nice to meet you. I love meeting other Marvel executives.
Right? Nice to meet you as well.
Well, you have a pretty impressive resume.
Oh,
You
thank
helped
you.
guide Loki, which I think many of us feel is like one of our favorite shows so far. And now you're the executive producer on this.
Mhm.
How is it taking these big, bold, creative swings for Marvel, for the MCU?
It's fun, which is a very simple answer, but it's one of the ways that we guide what we make, right? It's if I want to see it on screen, odds are you want to see it, and odds are hopefully someone else wants to see it. Like it's all about making stories and telling stories and making things that people want to see, get excited, and want to do. And Werewolf by Night, I mean, horror movie in the MCU, totally different visual look to it. Monsters, what's not to like, you know?
Well, I have to say, how on earth did you get away with all the blood splatter and kills in this special? I was like, I'm watching Disney Plus, right? And I
Right.
was.
um, every story is unique, and this one felt like we could lean into that a little bit more, right? I will say that this, She-Hulk's this great comedy, right? That's sort of like a workplace thing. Werewolf by Night has horror. You mentioned Loki, which is much more of like a sci-fi concept. Everything's a little bit different, and so for this one, we said, well, they're going to be deadly hunters, and they're going to be hunting a monster. And it feels like this is the time when we take those swings to make sure that you get a little scared and you're a little bit worried and you're kind of wondering what's going to happen to all these characters.
It was bloody. It was very
Yes.
bloody. This special is influenced by a lot of classic horror, as you said. Do you have any favorite classic horror movies?
I really do enjoy the classic Mummy from the now I'm blanking on what year it is, but I'm
The
a big fan of
original.
that. The original, yes. Well, I also really love the Brendan Fraser one. So
Oh, yeah.
all versions of the Mummy are on the table for me. But I like that, and I also enjoy. Of course, we watched The Wolfman and of course Creature from the Black Lagoon. All of those felt like very fun instances of real life humans that felt a little grounded being thrust in this supernatural situation. And that's sort of what we wanted to emulate with this. You want a little bit of that realness, and you want a little bit of what's going on. I can't believe this is really happening.
Well, finally, I have to ask you a little bit about Quantumania. I know that because you're working on that as well. I know you have to be very careful, but how is it taking Kang, who was fantastic in the season finale of Loki, and then blowing him up to a big feature film?
The most exciting thing about this is the first two Ant-Man movies were, dare I say, small in their stature, and that's a pun. But what I'm saying is that you were really with the family and you were in San Francisco and you're figuring this out. And what excited us about making this third Ant-Man movie was, well, the whole family's coming in together. You're going to see the Wasp, you're going to see Ant-Man, of course, you're going to see the whole cast of characters, but they're finally facing a really big villain. And who's bigger than Kang? I mean, in the history of the comics, he's clearly one of the top villains. And so it feels exciting that we get to, in a third movie, really take a big step in a new direction and put Ant-Man to the test.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Grace.
You've got a lot of fight scenes in this special.
Yeah.
You even do the Black Widow twirl takedown.
Yeah.
How is it preparing for them and shooting those sequences?
Oh, it's so fun. That I love that stuff. I've done quite a lot of stunt work in other projects in the last few years, and so I've kind of been in continual like martial arts training and stuff for about 3 or 4 years, and I adore it. I have a background in gymnastics, and so I kind of came with a feeling that I could do this a little bit. So
that's so
brilliant,
cool.
but I'd never done sword fighting before, so that was a whole new skill, which melted my head for a bit, but then I feel like I got it.
Is it you most of the time in those sequences?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are some big stunt, key stunt moments that even if I could do them, which I can't, even if I could do them, I'm sure I'd never be allowed to, for the risk element. But we have an incredible stunt department, amazing martial artists who just can do anything that's asked of them. So it's always really brilliant to see somebody doing something as you when you know that there is not a hope that you could ever do that.
You have such a great look, particularly for this special. A lot of times, like there were some shots where you look just like a classic movie actress, like a classic movie star. Do you have any favorite classic actresses or horror films that drew inspiration for this?
I was a big fan of the old horror movies growing up. I had watched all of the Universal monster movies and the Hammer horror movies, and and I loved those actresses that were in those. They were kind of what I had in mind as a kid when I decided I wanted to be an actress.
Really?
In terms of, I think my favorite, she didn't do horror stuff, but I think in terms of that old cinema, Bette Davis has always been my all-time. Yeah.
She'd be very funny in this special.
Wouldn't she? Oh, she would be a brilliant Verussa, wouldn't she?
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of practical effects in this special, which is so cool. So that means you actually got to do scenes with the werewolf.
Yes, exactly.
How did he look? How was doing that?
It was amazing. It was a big draw of the project for me. When I first spoke to Michael, our director, he said that we would be doing a lot of practical effects, that everything would be, the sets would be real, the costumes, the monsters, everything else would be real. And, I come from a theater background, so that's what I'm used to. I'm not used to, I didn't start out pretending that a tennis ball was a monster. And so that's not really the stuff that I'm massively drawn towards. And so when he said it was going to be all practical, that was just a huge plus for me. It's great fun doing that stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. And then finally, Elsa Bloodstone is a very big character in the comics. What are your hopes for her going forward in the MCU?
I mean, I'll do anything that they want me to do. I'm just enjoying this whole world so much. And I really love, I love, I didn't know anything about her before I started this, and went and read like Next Wave and read her one-shot novel that came out, and and got to know that side of her a bit. And then I realized that in this particular little special that we were going to be kind of exploring a version of her that hasn't existed yet, a kind of a version where she isn't completely herself as we know her yet. She's on a bit of a journey, and there's like a vulnerability and a humanity to her, which makes it so much more fulfilling as an actor to do, is because you obviously want to be playing somebody that has complexity to them and isn't the straight up invulnerable fierce badass. But of course I want to get there too, so hopefully.
Well, I can't wait to see that journey, and I'm glad we got to see the start of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.